Good evening. For weeks, we've watched the politicians slugging it out together. Tonight, at last, we hear the voters' verdict as they tell us who's won. If the opinion polls through this campaign are borne out tonight, we're likely to see one of the biggest political upsets since the Tories were swept out of office in 1945.
Yes, over the next 18 hours, we shall have a succession of victors, vanquished and walking wounded up here to explain what went right, what went wrong, and what happens now in their respective parties.
We'll be illustrating this battle for power in a more adventurous and inventive way than we've ever done before. Now, of course, the battle will be won or lost in these key battleground seats, all blue in the last Parliament, Conservatives defending themselves against Labour, the Liberal Democrats, the Scottish Nationalists, the Welsh Nationalists, and so on. And how many of these seats will Labour manage to turn red tonight, the Scottish National Party yellow, and the Liberal Democrats gold in their contest to cross Downing Street and open the door to number 10?
And as Big Ben strikes 10, the polls close, we can give you the results of our exit poll. We've spoken to 14,000 people in 200 constituencies tonight, and we hope they've been telling us the truth. There it is, 10 o'clock, and we say Tony Blair is to be Prime Minister and a landslide is likely. And this is why. Labour, 47%. The Conservatives, 29%, according to our exit poll. That would be the worst result, not just this century, but if you care to go back that far, to the Tory vote after the Great Reform Act in 1932, when they were led by the Duke of Wellington. The Liberal Democrats on 18%, pretty much what they did at the last election. Others on 6%. Peter Snow.
Now let's bring down our swingometer and see what all that means. The swing our exit poll is suggesting, just watch this. On it goes. Look at those blue seats turning red. They go on and on and on, more than 100 of them, until you get to 13%. Now that swing, if it was precisely accurate, uniform all over the country, would see Labour in with a majority of very nearly 200. But just take the band of error. Don't forget, these exit polls can be 2% out in either direction. They can be even more than that if they're very wrong. But if they're 2% out of the margin of error, then at the bottom end of our swing, it's 11% to Labour. But look, Labour with a majority of more than 100 with an 11% swing. If the swing was at the top end of our band of error, at 15%, then Labour will be in with a majority of over 200. It is something quite unique for the Labour Party, and a record, certainly, since 1945.
Thanks very much, Peter. Look, the ballot boxes already arriving at Sunderland South, being rushed in. Sunderland South making a point always of trying to be the first to declare, and actually a very useful seat because it'll give us the first indication of whether this landslide we're talking about is actually going to happen in reality. 57 minutes is the all-time record from the close of poll to getting a result in. That would mean 3 minutes before 11 o'clock. We'll see whether Sunderland beats that. Jeremy.
Michael Portillo, are you going to miss the ministerial limo?
I think we'll wait for the real results.
But on the basis of these exit polls, you aren't in with a prayer. You're going down to the worst defeat in 150 years.
I still think it's reasonable that we should wait for the real results rather than speculate upon the theory. We're going to have a theory and we're going to have a fact tonight. So why don't we wait for the fact?
We go down to Yeovil because Paddy Ashdown's talking there.
The BBC has you on 18%.
I never believe opinion polls, whether they're good or whether they're bad, but 18% would be an extremely good result. Nick.
Has there been any indication yet of how it's gone?
As far as we can tell, and it's very difficult to tell at this moment, the turnout's been high, and that's a very good thing for democracy. In the Yeovil constituency, I understand, perhaps as much as 80%. Apart from that, I would caution against predicting the results until we know it. But what I'm confident of is that the Liberal Democrats have got their messages across, have fought a very good campaign, and I think we're going to see a strengthened position for the Liberal Democrats. Our job now is to ensure that the verdict of the nation, the verdict of the voters, is put into operation in the next government in a responsible and cooperative way.
News from Sunderland South is that they expect to get their result through at 10 to 11. That would beat all records, and that's only half an hour away, and that first result will give us the first indication of whether our exit poll is correct.
When the results of the exit poll went up here, there was a huge cheer. People were standing, clapping, cheering. It was quite amazing. I think until that exit poll, obviously people here were pretty hopeful, but they felt a little bit superstitious. But I think now, with the result in, they're feeling very, very confident. I'm joined here by John Burton, Tony Blair's agent. How's Tony Blair feeling now?
Well, I've been in touch with the office, Fiona, and he's very pleased, really.
We can hear they're pretty pleased behind.
In 3 minutes' time, we should have the first result. Now, Tony King, if our exit poll is correct, this is a sensational night we face.
Oh, absolutely. Landslide is much too weak a word. This is
Well,
an
what stronger
asteroid.
word than landslide do you have?
I offer you the following metaphor. It's an asteroid hitting the planet and destroying practically all life on Earth. It is an extraordinary result. There's been nothing like it. If this is what's going to happen since the Second World War, there's really been nothing like it in this century.
The returning officer coming to the podium for this, the first result of this 1997 general election. A safe Labour seat, but what we're watching for is the switching in the vote, which will give us the first clue of whether Labour has done as well as all the predictions and the exit polls
suggest. The total number of votes given for each candidate at the election was as follows. John Anthony Lennox, Liberal Democrat, 4,606. Christopher John Mullin, the Labour Party candidate, 27,174. Timothy John Schofield, Conservative Party candidate, 7,536. Margaret Ann McQuillan Wilkinson, UK Independence Party, 609. And that Christopher John Mullin has been duly elected to serve as the member for the Sunderland South constituency.
Well, there's the result, and this is the swing, the key figure we're waiting for, an 11% swing from Conservative to Labour, and that broadly confirms what our exit poll was telling us. We're in line for a Labour landslide. This is the first MP elected tonight.
18 years of Conservative rule are going to come to an end.
The first real piece of proper result to grind our teeth into and see how it works on our swing arm. There are the blue Conservative MPs that'll go down to the swing. That's the way it's got to go. 4.5% swing to Labour would be enough for an overall majority. We're going past 4.5. It's going up past 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 in a safe Labour seat. A 10.5% swing in Sunderland South. We think the swing will be greater in the seats the Conservatives are defending, and those are these very seats up here, these marginal seats. A swing like that would see Labour in with a majority of 100. If it's higher in the Tory-held seats, it'll be even worse.
Neil Kinnock, you'd have died for forecasts like this and results like that, wouldn't you?
It would have been very nice, especially as I recall Sunderland came in first last time, and indelibly on my memory is a swing of 2.4% last time. The swing in Chris's seat on this occasion of 11% is sensational, and if the swing is more modest in safe Labour seats than it is in the seats that Labour needs to take, then we really are in for a spectacular evening, and I'll begin to believe the exit polls, even though my calculation would be slightly more modest than they show.
Michael Portillo, are you ready to drink hemlock yet?
Certainly not. One result doesn't make the general election result. In any case, I will just comment on each result as they come in. It's not for me to make any statement about the overall position.
Well, Tony, the prediction is online for a wipeout.
The prediction is absolutely online. The swing at the general election of 1945, Labour's biggest victory ever by a very wide margin, was spot on 12%. The swing in a safe Labour seat, 11%. It does look as though Labour is on course for perhaps the biggest victory in its history.
The Tories will be absolutely devastated if the figures are on the scale indicated by the exit poll and confirmed by the first result that we've had. Obviously, it means that Mr. Major will depart, and probably fairly quickly, as party leader. But the Tories are going to have to face up to the fact that Labour have managed to successfully occupy the centre ground of politics.
Let's go to Hamilton South, where we have a declaration.
George Robertson, the Labour Party candidate, 21,709.
This evening, we are here at a historic time when a historic decision has been taken for our whole country. It is clear from these first two results, and indeed from the exit polls, that there is going to be a Labour government in this country after 18 years, and that this country will move in a completely new and better direction.
Michael Heseltine himself, imperturbable as ever, arrived a moment ago at the Tory party headquarters in Smith Square in London. And that's the first big arrival there. We've been told that a number of ministers are going to turn up there over the night. Michael Portillo says that it's disunity that was the problem for the Tory party. Would you agree with that?
Well, I think it's important to have a mature period of reflection, to look at all the questions, all the answers. And what is critical is that the party finds a way to regroup, unite, and begin the fight
What
back.
does regroup mean?
Regroup is simply what you do when you have found yourself on the wrong end of an election defeat, if that's what happens to us.
Mark Mardell in Basildon. Of course, Basildon was the seat that told everybody that the Tories had not only not done as badly, had done a great deal better than the exit poll suggested last time round. What's the story tonight?
Yes, I think that's right. That early indication last time, there was that huge grin on the face of David Amess, which I think is seared on the minds of many Labour supporters, that first indication. Well, it ain't going to happen again.
And it's a hard, and it's a hard.
The count is going on helter-skelter everywhere, all over the United Kingdom at the moment.
It's a hard rain, are gonna fall. And what did you hear, my blue-eyed son? What did you hear, my darling young one? I heard the sound of a thunder that brought out a warning. Heard the roar of a wave that could drown the whole world. Heard 100 drummers whose hands were blazing. Heard 10,000 whispering and nobody listening. Heard one person starved, many people laughing. Heard a hard rain are gonna fall.
Lance Price joins us now from Michael Portillo's seat. Michael Portillo was here in the studio a moment ago, but he's gone on his way back to his count there. Lance, he's not in any trouble there, is he?
Well, it would be astonishing if he was. It would take a swing of approaching 15% for him to lose this seat here. But the indications are, no one is predicting that Michael Portillo is going to lose this seat, but the indications from the Labour side are that they have been doing particularly well in wards where they thought they didn't stand any chance at all.
There he is, the man who will be Prime Minister tomorrow when he goes to Buckingham Palace. We're joined by Gordon Brown now. From Dunfermline East. Mr. Brown, good evening. Thank you for joining us. Well, it looks as though you're going to be Chancellor of the Exchequer by tomorrow afternoon.
Well, I think we'll wait and see. I think I'm waiting for my result. I think you've had two results so far. It looks as if Labour has done very well, but I was the one who said to all our candidates on Monday, take nothing for granted, and I will stick that way for the time being.
It's rare to see you smiling quite so much on a television interview, Mr. Brown. I suspect you...
I always smile when I'm interviewed by you, David.
Well, save the flattery. I suspect you know that you've won, and won by a very handsome margin.
Well, if we have won, I think it's not just a rejection of the Conservatives. It is about new Labour. It is about a new type of politics for this country. I think it's a desire on the part of everybody to tackle the very real social problems that form the basis of our manifesto. And it's a desire also that we have a government that will equip us for the future, a government that is on people's side, and I think that is why people have been voting Labour in increased numbers today.
Thank you very much. I think that the Tories may well have conceded Southport to the Liberal Democrats, but we shall hear about that in a moment. Jeremy.
David. Well, now, Cecil Parkinson, you're now chairman of a fertiliser firm. How deep is the mess you're in at present?
Well, I think we're clear. I'm chairman of a number of other companies too, by the way, and it's artificial fertiliser.
That just seems the most appropriate one.
Artificial fertiliser, just for the record.
Oh,
chemical
right.
fertiliser. Very dangerous stuff to immerse oneself in. Well, I think that clearly we're not going to have a good evening. It's very early days. I would have thought it's fairly clear we will have a Labour victory. But I think I don't buy any of this analysis about disunity and so on. We've just been there for 18 years. It's 23 years since the Labour Party last won an election. And I think the mood that I found going around the country, people were saying, look, it's just time for a change.
I'm going to interrupt you there because Tony Blair is there leaving his house.
Tony Blair now leaving Marabella, his house. In Trimdon, a crowd outside. Well, being congratulated by people in his Sedgefield constituency. Well, Mr. Blair is looking now like a man who knows he's won. For the first time since this long campaign started, you can see on his face a kind of confidence and exuberance, Cherie, his wife, beside him there, that this time Labour's cracked it and that he is about to become Prime Minister.
Hi.
Neil Hamilton arriving with his wife Christine at the Count at Tatton.
What happens in Tatton?
Let's go for the declaration from Birmingham Edgbaston.
Andrew Marshall, the Conservative Party candidate, 18,712. Gisela Stewart, the Labour Party, 23,000.
That tells it all, the smile on her face. This is a seat that's never fallen to Labour. And this is the Basildon of the 1997 election. There it is in Sedgefield. They're all applauding and waving their balloons at this first Labour gain of the night. Birmingham Edgbaston, Labour majority, 4,800 from a 5,000 Conservative majority last time. For Gisela Stewart.
Elected Member of Parliament for the Birmingham Edgbaston constituency.
And the swing, 10% from Conservative to Labour in Birmingham Edgbaston. There it is, the first Labour gain of the night.
With the loss of Edgbaston there, do you really accept the game is up? It looks as though I'm going to be sharing the disappointment of everybody else who's been working for the Conservative Party in the last few weeks. So it's ever more likely as the minutes go by that we have lost, that the end of 18 years of, I think, very successful Conservative government have come, and people have chosen to go to a new Labour government, and we have to see what New Labour is really like in office. We'll come back to you later, Chancellor. Thank you very much.
The result from Portsmouth North.
Peter Harry Steve Griffiths, Conservative Party candidate, 17,016 votes. Sydney Norman John Rapson, the Labour Party candidate, 21,339.
Well, there is a very good result for Labour. Their second gain of the night. Peter Griffiths, once dubbed the parliamentary leper by Harold Wilson for a racist campaign he fought in the Midlands, has lost this seat, and the swing is a huge 14%. Tony King, what do you make of that? That's a sensational result.
Absolutely amazing. One of the things that's striking about the conversations that have taken place so far is all this talk of time for a change, as though all that had happened is that the clock had run out for the Conservative government. One of the things I think the Tories are going to have to take on board is that they didn't lose this election simply because they'd been in power for 18 years. They lost the election because of the way they comported themselves in power.
The third Labour gain of the night in Crosby, the seat Shirley Williams once held for the SDP, and Sir Malcolm Thornton defeated here on a huge swing, 18% swing.
Quite extraordinary. Look, here is our swingometer with all the old seats coloured up in blue for Conservative over here, red for Labour over here. Now, watch which ones have actually declared. Here we go. I'm going to press my little button now. There we are. They're flashed up, and there are the safe Labour ones declaring for Labour. There's Birmingham Edgbaston, there's Portsmouth North, and there's Crosby. See what swings it would require: 10.5% for Crosby, 9% for Portsmouth, 5% for Birmingham Edgbaston to go. But now let's bring back all the undeclared seats now, all the undeclared red and blue seats, and see what the swing in those three marginals is looking like. Here it goes, turning an awful lot of other blue seats red as well. This is what's going to happen in these vital marginal seats if these three are typical. Something like 12%. And in Crosby, the furthest one here, it was 18%. It's off the end here somewhere.
Alistair, you've won, haven't you?
Well, Mr. Blair's constituency is not yet declared, but I think we're having a pretty good night.
I mean, there's Peter Snow saying possible majority of 171.
Well, I would doubt that, but I think it's fair to say we've had a very good campaign and we're having a very good night.
Well, I mean, 171 is a bit more than.
Well, I would doubt we get a majority of 171, but it's quite clear we've had a very good night.
Can I tempt you to saying how much? No. But I mean, it's going to be substantial.
Well, it looks like we've had a good night.
James Goldsmith, Sir James Goldsmith, who founded the Referendum Party, arriving looking extremely cheerful at Putney.
None of the parties have a mandate from this election to take us into a federal Europe, because they have all campaigned against it. And if they don't respect their commitments, we want to have people up and down the country who are angry and committed to ensuring that those politicians respect their words.
And your personal chances here, have you any idea how they go?
Extremely low.
Thanks very much indeed. See you later on.
Well, that's the first frank remark we've heard from a candidate tonight as they wait for their results to come through. The Liberal Democrats have pretty much conceded they've lost Rochdale to Labour, or it looks as though they have. Obviously very upsetting. There's Liz Lynn herself comforting one of her own supporters in Rochdale, where she's conceded that she's lost the seat to Labour. The first editions of the newspapers are coming through. The youngest Prime Minister since 1801, says the Express. Biggest turnaround by voters since 1945. Tories head for greatest defeat ever. It's Blair. The Guardian, Labour's victory charge. The Telegraph, Blair set for huge majority. The Mail, a landslide for Labour. The Mirror, Blair heading for landslide poll victory. And let's now go down to Basildon.
John Charles Barron, Conservative, 16,366. Lindsay Granshaw, Liberal Democrat, 4,608. Angela Evans-Smith, Labour, 29,646. And that Angela Evans-Smith has been duly elected to serve as member for the said constituency.
So Basildon deserts the Conservatives and goes Labour. And just look at the swing in Basildon. 15% swing from Conservative to Labour in Basildon. Angela Smith takes it. And Nick Budgeon's seat in Wolverhampton South West.
Nicholas William Budgeon,
Conservative,
19,539. Matthew Roger Green,
Liberal Democrat,
4,012. Michael Stephen Hyde,
Liberal,
713. Jennifer Grace Jones,
Labour,
24,657.
Wolverhampton South West, Enoch Powell's old seat and Nick Budgeon's seat, ever since 1974, falls to Labour. Big majority, 5,000, a swing of 10%.
Let's forecast the way they're going to go on the basis of the swings in all these important critical seats that we're going to decide it. Look at all the gold and yellow for SNP as well as red for Labour that's going up those first four columns, and the fifth and the sixth, and largely up the seventh as well. Now, the thing to do is to bunch them all together so that we get a clear picture of how far Labour is going to get beyond the winning post. They're filling 3, 4, 5 and a half, 5 3/4 columns. The rest of it is totally full of Liberal Democrat potential gains, forecast gains, and then the SNP going right off the top of our battleground. Now, that will mean, if that's anything like the way it's going to go, and now, of course, we are pretty certain of our forecast, but we've got enough results in to be pretty certain it's going to be a landslide for Mr. Blair. Just where is he now? Let's go into number 10, open the door, and see how securely he will be in number 10. But there's no question about this. At least 5, certainly the full 5 years if he wants to. 191 majority forecast for Labour. David.
The man who helped devise that victory has won in Hartlepool, again with a big swing, 11%, and is speaking at the moment.
With very many others in our party, for 10 years, to arrive at the point at which the people of Britain feel able to put their trust and their faith once again in a Labour government, and that is what has happened today.
The first London seat to declare, Battersea in South London.
Democrat, 3,482. Linton Martin,
Conservative seat this,
Labour
at the
Party,
moment.
24,000. And 47. And that Martin Linton has been duly elected to serve as the member for Battersea.
Guardian journalist Martin Linton defeats John Bowis, the health minister, junior health minister here, with a big swing. 10%. Portsmouth South.
Liberal Democrat, 20,421.
That's Mike Hancock, the Liberal Democrat, who's taken this seat. We have the Sedgefield Declaration, Tony Blair's declaration.
Anthony Charles Linton Blair, the Labour Party candidate, 33,526.
A word of thanks in particular to my family that is here this evening. If I could say a special word of welcome to my father, who has just been magnificent to me all my life, and I would never ever have done what I've done without him. And if I know that for him, like me, all that could have made this moment complete was that my mother was here as well. It is an honor to serve you, and I feel this evening a deep sense of honor, a deep sense of responsibility, and a deep sense of humility. You have put your trust in me, and I intend to repay that trust. I will not let you down.
Tony Blair here with Leo, his father, the man who wanted to be a Conservative MP, who had a stroke when he was 42, was a lawyer and was unable to carry on, and has now, of course, become a supporter of New Labour and Tony Blair. Catherine, his daughter, in his arms there, and Ewan and Nicky, the two sons, at the count at Sedgefield. Huge swings have defeated David Hunt, the former cabinet minister, in Wirral West, 14% swing, and Stephen Hesford takes that. Wirral South, Labour win that. Don Chapman with a swing of 15% after a by-election. Birmingham Hall Green, Labour gain, the Conservatives defeated there on a swing of 14%. Oldham East and Saddleworth, this was the one that Chris Davies, the Liberal Democrat, took at the by-election. Labour have jumped from third to first place, and Phil Wallace takes that seat. Vale of Clwyd, a Labour gain. Chris Ruane takes that, a swing of 14% again. These vast swings. Liberal Democrat gain here. Sir John Cope defeated, majority 2,000.
Cecil Parkinson, this is about as bad as it can get, isn't it?
Well, I'm very pleased we won a seat. I was beginning to wonder. I was actually beginning to think that John Major would remain the leader of the party and the only member we had in the House of Commons at one stage. But clearly, these are the seats in the smaller city areas. The country seats will declare later. But it's a very, very bad night for us.
I've got some terribly good news for you. Apparently, it's the second Tory victory just been
That's
announced.
relief. So we are going to have a rival for the leadership if it carries on like this.
Neil Kinnock, when you saw Tony Blair's acceptance speech there in his constituency, was it just a little bit of you that thought that could have been me?
It would be unnatural and almost inhuman not to occasionally feel that, but I must say, you saw Tony Blair there at his relaxed best, speaking to his own people, but translating what he felt about Sedgefield over these years in national terms. And I think that that's why he is quite an outstanding character and fully deserves to win. I'm overjoyed for him.
David Steele, what do you make of the Liberal Democrat results so far? Rather encouraging.
It's very encouraging. I'm very sad that Liz Lynn and Chris Davies have lost. What seems to be happening, actually, is that the Labour tide is sweeping everything before it, and these seats which we held against hot Labour competition, we haven't been able to hang on. But we're picking up more seats from the Conservatives, and there is some evidence, I think Neil and I were just talking about this, that there is a real tactical vote going on.
Putney may have fallen to Labour. David Mellor, the Conservative, is rumoured to have been defeated here, and it's also said that Norman Lamont has lost Harrogate. One other note, Bristol West is said to be too close to call, William Walgrave's seat.
Coleman Tony, Labour Party, 20,084. Goldsmith James, Referendum Party, 1,518. Mellor David, Conservative Party, 17,108.
Sir James Goldsmith, who's got nothing to be smug about. And I would like to say that 1,500 votes is a derisory total. And we have shown tonight that the referendum party is dead in the water. And Sir James, you can get off back to Mexico knowing your attempt to buy the British political system has failed.
Putney said, "Up your hacienda, Jimmy." And as far as he's concerned, he can't buy the British political process, and he can go off back to Mexico, having failed almost as abysmally as his son-in-law did in Pakistan.
Let's go to Stirling, where we have the result.
Michael Bruce Forsyth, Scottish Conservative and Unionist Party, 13,971. Anne Maguire, the Scottish Labour Party, 20,382.
Michael Forsyth, Secretary of State for Scotland, defeated their majority of 6,500 for Labour. We're joined by Anne Perkins now, who's at John Redwood's seat. Anne.
There has been feverish activity in the Redwood camp. He's been on his mobile phone scribbling frantic notes. So I assume he's been on the phone to his London headquarters, and they're considering tactics, because obviously we're here not because we don't think he's going to win this seat or hold this seat, which we are pretty confident he will, but because we want to know what he's going to say about the major leadership.
The other thing is that Sir Marcus Fox defeated at Shipley. Sir Marcus Fox, who's chairman of the 1922 Backbench Conservative Committee, a staunch supporter of John Major's, has been defeated on a 14% swing.
The Tories are clearly going to be absolutely devastated. I think one of the interesting things about all the results we've had in so far are the number of women MPs that we're going to see in the next House of Commons. It looks as though it'll be at least 100 women MPs. And
there's Martin Bell arriving inside. Had he not decided to stand for Parliament and leave the BBC, he would have been up at Edinburgh Pentlands with Malcolm Rifkin tonight, which is what he'd been booked to do.
John Jeremy. Paddy Ashdown, official Liberal Democrat candidate, 26,349, 26349.
I do not yet know what the result of this election will be, although I think the trends are now fairly clear. I do not wish to predict the future, but I will say this, that I think we are now going to see a change of government, and I believe that there will be a very substantial, perhaps even a two-thirds majority, for constitutional change and the modernisation of our system of government in the next Parliament. And I believe that can deliver a new era for our country, an era of politics which is more in touch with people, and an era in particular where more power is in the hands of the voter and perhaps less in the hands of the political establishment and the elites. And I think that will be a very, very good thing for our democracy.
We've had 175 or so results in. 154 for Labour, up 31. The Conservatives on 8. Hornchurch has a Labour gain. This is on the Essex border. A swing of 16%. Robin Squire out there. Hove has been gained. Very strong Tory seat normally. Sir Tim Sainsbury held it in the last Parliament. A 16% swing from Tory to Labour.
Well, Cecil Parkinson, if you can't even hold Hove, something seismic is happening here, isn't it?
Well, it clearly is. I mean, we have these amazing, highly improbable swings, and they seem to be repeating themselves regularly. Yes, this is a very significant evening for us.
The Conservative Party is becoming a minority English party. There's every chance that the Conservatives will have no seats at all in Wales after this election. It's perfectly possible they will have at most 1 or 2 seats in Scotland. The Celts clearly don't like the Tories. The Tories are virtually being eliminated from that part of the world.
David, I've just been handed a news release from the Tory Reform Group, who represent the left of the party, and a sign of the bloodbath that perhaps is to come in the Conservative Party. Let me just read you a section of it. The election defeat that the Conservative Party experienced was wholly unnecessary. It was brought about by the rank treachery of the Tory right. They, ably assisted by the newspapers that back them, have run a vile campaign of hatred against John Major and his administration, almost from the moment of the sensational victory of 1992. And it goes on, those who cheered the defeat of Chris Patten at Lord McAlpine's home in 92 are all too typical of those on the right of the Conservative Party who've since worked tirelessly to remove John Major and to destroy the Tory party. Their actions are unforgivable. Now, this is being handed out here at Conservative HQ. The press releases have already been started to circulate from the left. No doubt we'll be hearing from the right wing of the party as well. But I think the omens from this sort of thing are not very good for the party.
We've had some extraordinary results tonight, as we've been hearing, but I think we are about to have perhaps the most extraordinary. It looks from all the indications that we are hearing from all the parties that Michael Portillo has lost his seat here at Enfield Southgate. We're expecting to get the result perhaps in the next 10 to 15 minutes. But as I say, all the indications so far is that one of the leading contenders for the leadership of the Conservative Party in the event of John Major's resignation has lost his seat.
It's a devastating blow for the Tory right, and particularly for those on the Tory right who don't want to see John Redwood get the job after John Major. Obviously, this increases John Redwood's chances of being the standard bearer of the right.
We've got a declaration in Galloway and Upper Nisdale. Ian Lang's seat.
Ian Lang, Scottish Conservative and Unionist Party candidate, 12,825, 12825. John Ewan McKercher, Scottish Liberal Democrat, 2,700, 2700. Alistair Morgan, Scottish National Party, 18,449.
Alex Salmond watching this result from his county at Banff-and-Buchan as the SNP take Galloway and Upper Nisdale, and Ian Lang, another cabinet minister to fall, is defeated. Tony Blair is now speaking at the Labour Club.
No, it's looking very good all around the country. I just want to say a few things to you on this evening that is more moving and more important, certainly, than any of my life before. I want to say to you, first of all, thank you, because it's you people here who've been my foundation and support all the way through my political career. And you've given me the chance to lead my party, and I hope now to lead my country. Thank you.
Wimbledon has been gained on a swing of 18%. Lady Olga Maitland defeated in Sutton and Cheam. Liberal Democrat takes that seat. So the picture of the United Kingdom is changing fast as we speak, isn't it, Peter?
It's completely transformed. I'm going to flash the changes since 1983 there, so that you can see how Labour's comeback has been so much more spectacular than simply to return to October 74. This is Labour's best result ever. We've seen nothing like this in British history. And the Liberal Democrats, too, the best results since the 1930s, but Labour here with absolutely record-breaking success all over the country, in the home counties, in Surrey, down to the south coast there. The Midlands and the North almost entirely red, and of course Scotland now a huge Labour stronghold with only one Tory seat visible up there in the northeast. David.
And we go up to Rushcliffe, where Kenneth Clarke is defending his seat,
for each
the Chancellor of the
candidate.
Exchequer.
Clarke Kenneth Harry, the Conservative Party candidate, 27,558.
Kenneth Clarke holds his seat.
I believe we can look back on a period of office in which we have transformed this country to make it a much more successful, self-confident and proud state. And I trust in the national interest that those who are now going to take responsibility for our affairs take good care of them and achieve success themselves.
Ladies
Martin
and
Bell
gentlemen,
on the left there in
we
white.
have the result now for the Tatton constituency.
Neil Hamilton defending for the Conservatives.
I, Brian Longden, being the acting returning officer
And this, of
at
course,
the
the great
election of a member
contest
of
between the man in the white
Tatton
suit and the man
constituency
with the
held
cloud
on
hanging
the
over his
1st day of
head.
May. Martin Bell,
Independent.
29,300. Mostyn Neil Hamilton, 18,000.
A massive defeat for Neil Hamilton. 29,000 for Martin Bell, 18,000 for Neil Hamilton.
What you have accomplished here has been to me some kind of a political miracle. I shall be and shall remain independent. I shall take no party whip. I shall serve for one term only. I am deeply grateful to all of you, and may I just repeat for the last time a couple of lines from G.K. Chesterton that I used during the campaign. Smile at us, pay us, pass us, but do not quite forget that we are the people of England, and we have not spoken yet. You have spoken tonight magnificently, and I thank you from the bottom of my heart.
I have been proud to represent the Tatton constituency for the last 14 years, and of course am devastated at the result here this evening. I know it will come as a great disappointment to all those who have worked so hard to attempt to elect me for the 4th time as the Member of Parliament for this constituency.
Edinburgh Pentlands now, where Malcolm Rifkind is in difficulty. Foreign Secretary.
Linda Margaret Clark, Scottish Labour Party, 19,675. Malcolm Leslie Rifkind, Scottish Conservative and Unionist, 14,813.
Well, she's a lawyer too, so she makes way at the Scottish Bar for Malcolm Rifkind, who's a Scottish lawyer. The Foreign Secretary defeated in Edinburgh Pentlands by Linda Clark. His majority of 5,000 turned into a majority for Labour of 5,000, a swing of 10% in Edinburgh Pentlands.
I see behind you, I think that the Prime Minister's arriving in Huntingdon. Why do you think John Major lost, Mrs. Curry?
Well, we all lost, and this is part of the tragedy. We've lost most of the cabinet, it sounds like, and all the seats in Scotland. I think in the end we lost because we did not satisfy the British people about our probity, about our wisdom, and about our common sense.
Let's hear from George Gardner, who was one of the more troublesome Conservative Eurosceptical backbench MPs who's in Reigate waiting for his result. What do you think it was, Sir George? You've been predicting this for ages.
Oh yes, I mean the irony is that if John Major had listened to the advice that I and others like Ian Duncan Smith were giving him, a year or so ago, then we wouldn't have had the rout that we've clearly got this evening.
Sir George, do you think it was helpful to Mr Major's chances of winning that you described him as having his buttocks clenched on the fence?
I don't think it affected the matter at all. By then, I think the Tories had lost anyway.
Well, John Redwood is having an emotional night, rushing around on the telephone and listening to all these results and no doubt waiting to see what happens to his potential rival for the leadership, Michael Portillo. He was there at his count in Wokingham, where he's being congratulated, looking rather moved. And we're about to get this result, which we've been waiting for, from Enfield Southgate, Michael Portillo's seat.
Portillo, Michael Denzel Xavier. Thank you, members. Conservative Party, 19,137. Twig, Stephen, Labour Party, 20,507.
Well, look at the face of Gillian Shepherd listening to these results coming through, watching the screen. And John Redwood in Wokingham. Michael Portillo has lost the seat. Labour celebrates at the Festival Hall.
A truly terrible night for the Conservatives. I would have wished to have been part of rebuilding it inside the House of Commons. I can't now do that, but I would like to do whatever I can from the wings to help rebuild a great party which has a great future. One thing alone I will not miss, and that's all the questions about the leadership. Thank you very much.
It's an enormously disappointing night for the government, for the Conservative Party. It's a particular blow that Michael has so narrowly lost his seat. He will be enormously missed, and I so admired the typically graceful and elegant and indeed generous way in which he just spoke.
So we now have Labour heading for a vast majority. They've just passed the 330 mark. Piccadilly Circus flashing on the screen there, the Labour victory.
Here's Mrs. Thatcher in 1979 beating Jim Callaghan, beginning the 18 years of Conservative rule. She did it again, if you remember, with that huge majority of 144 in 83. That was the high watermark of Conservative success. Then the third one, a little bit less, but still a convincing majority in 1987. Then John Major, to many people's surprise, won the election of 1992, the last one, with a majority of 21. And now, that's all changed. The era of Conservative rule is over. There is Mr. Blair with the most convincing majority, 187, a record Labour majority, bigger than any other majority since the war. He's got a larger lead over the Conservatives than any Labour party's had before, and the Tories are way down there with the worst share of the vote since 1832. It's a staggering Labour victory and the end of an era of British history.
Well, I'm joined now from his count by Michael Portillo, who's just lost his seat there. And now, what do you attribute that to?
I really don't know. I think, as I said to you earlier, that needs quite a bit of thinking out. What I would say, I said it earlier, was that the party was pretty divided. And what I say now, for the first time I can speak without anyone suspecting me of having leadership ambitions or speaking to further my own ambitions. I can now say that I plead with the party not to fall into disunity and opposition, because that would be the way of staying there.
How can the party unite around the present policy on the single currency?
Well, I'm now a man outside the House of Commons, so I don't have to bother with questions like that.
Is the present policy the right policy?
Oh, Jeremy, do stop this nonsense.
Well, I think we'll have to stop the interview, unless you've got anything else you particularly want to tell us this evening.
It was you who wanted the interview.
You do? This is your last opportunity, Mr. Portillo.
Oh, not necessarily.
You seem very good humour for a chap who's lost his seat and his chance of leading the party.
Well, I think it's inherent in politics that you have to be prepared for ups and downs.
OK. Mr. Portillo, thanks very much for joining us.
Here he comes into the hall with Norma Major, the Prime Minister, who's remained extraordinarily good-humoured throughout this campaign.
John Major, 31,501.
The Labour Party has had an extremely successful evening. I telephoned Mr. Blair a little over an hour ago to congratulate him on his success and to wish him every good fortune in the great responsibilities that he will have in the years that lie ahead. This is a great country. He inherits a country in extremely good economic shape. I wish him every success in sustaining that in the interests of all the people of this country.
Mr. Heseltine, when we talked before, we were talking and flirting with the idea, as so often in interviews with you, about the leadership of the Conservative Party. There's nothing much left to lead tonight, is there?
Well, I think that there is always something to lead if you are a member of the Conservative Party, because it is a party, as you well know and everyone knows, with a huge tradition, made a massive contribution to this country, and with an instinct for government.
When we look at our targets and we see how well Tony Blair's party's aim has been, it is absolutely devastating. Watch the hits here clocking up in the little hit box. The first one we're going for is Plymouth Sutton, then Exeter, you can see just beyond it there. There goes Exeter. Here comes Portsmouth North, the most difficult of those targets to hit. You can just see Simon Hughes surviving in the middle of London, but surrounded by those great skyscrapers of red in London. So one Liberal Democrat survives, but otherwise just devastation everywhere, and huge Labour majorities building up where those powerful Tory majorities were before.
The Follets appear to be about to celebrate their victory there with a Grand Prix size bottle of champagne, which won't open. I think the thing to do is shake it and just see if the cork will pop out. There's going to be the most terrible explosion in a moment. Tony Blair, in the meantime, is on his way down to London. They were called champagne socialists, but they're clearly very incompetent champagne socialists. No, it's broken.
Show me prejudice and greed, and you've shown me how.
I'm very, very happy, very relieved, and very exhilarated. Not just for all the people here, because they've done all the work. They've made this victory possible. But I'm very excited for the country, obviously, as well.
They finally found a corkscrew and rather perilously opened the champagne bottle with that, and now they're celebrating the privilege of going back to the House of Commons with a huge majority, 423 seats we think Labour is going to have. How is Labour going to fit on the government benches?
You're not half as wise as I am. I hope we're going to get the doors open. Having watched that scene in Stevenage, I hope we're going to get the doors of the House of Commons open. So just hold your breath while I try for it. Yes, we're all right. Now then, there's the opposition benches over here, David, and we're going to see John Major on those opposition benches with our latest forecast at 163, the fewest Conservative MPs we've seen since the beginning of the 20th century. Here is the Liberal Democrat score. Paddy Ashdown is going to have no fewer than 44 MPs under his command there. 29 others, of course, including Martin Bell. There's the winning post coming up now, the 330 line you have to cross. And here comes Tony Blair's Labour Party, spinning along through the winning post right the way past with 423 MPs. Now, of course, they won't all fit on that side. Some of them have to come round and sit on the opposition benches. They won't fit on the government side, all those 423. However, let's look at the majority you'll have anyway over all the opposition parties. There we are, 423 versus 236, a Labour majority of 187.
We've just got pictures of Paddy Ashdown arriving at Liberal Democrat Party headquarters.
We are the largest force of Liberal Democrats and Liberals that this country has had since the days of Lloyd George. And we will use that force, we will use the vote that people have given us in the next Parliament with a hugely increased number of Liberal Democrat members of Parliament to fight every minute, every second, every hour through the next Parliament for those things that we have campaigned for in this election.
There's our dicey dozen. We've had, let's see, 9, 10 of them now. Their seats have been declared, 2 more to come. What's happened? Well, there it goes. The landslide, the Labour landslide, has buried no fewer than 9 of the 10 of our dicey dozen so far. Just going to have a quick look at who they are. You'll recognise Jerry Hayes there on the right. Now, he's had the worst defeat of all. That's why he's up to his neck there. There's Tony Marlow in Northampton North. There's Giles Brandreth, Michael Forsyth, the Scottish Secretary, another Cabinet Minister Ian Lang, another one, Malcolm Rifkind. And there is Nick Budgeon, David Mellor, another Cabinet Minister, Chief Secretary of the Treasury, William Waldegrave, and the Home Secretary, as I mentioned earlier, just surviving the Liberal Democrat surge. They didn't quite manage to get as far as him in Folkestone and Hyde. But of course, it's gone beyond that, even beyond our so-called dicey dozen. The vulnerable Tories we thought might go down to a 9% swing. The swing, of course, has been far bigger than that. And it's carried with it people like Neil Hamilton in Tatton, as we saw earlier. There's the Norman Lamont, the former Chancellor. There's David Hunt in West Wirral. I mean, very, very safe seats, these, many of them. Marcus Fox and Shipley, he's gone down. Jeremy Hanley, beaten in Richmond Park. And finally, in Braintree there, Tony Newton going down to defeat in a really very, very safe Conservative seat, David. And, of course, Michael Portillo in Enfield Southgate. Devastating for them.
Rather grand motor car arriving, which may well be Tony Blair. I think it is. Already signs of a security operation going on around him. But Tony Blair and Cherie Blair. And you can see here what a personal triumph this is for Tony Blair, and is going to be treated as a personal triumph for Tony Blair by the party. Everybody said that if he wins, he'll have no problem, because even those who were dubious about the way that he was controlling the party and leading it will give him the credit for the victory if they really win, and they've won so handsomely that the whole party for the moment is likely to be bound up in the victory. Neil Kinnock congratulating him, Mrs. Prescott congratulating him, John Prescott there, his deputy leader.
people have put their trust in us. It is a moving and it is a humbling experience. And the size of our likely majority now imposes a special sort of responsibility upon us. We have been elected as New Labour, and we will govern as New Labour.
And an enthusiastic welcome from Labour Party workers and supporters who've come here in the early hours of the morning as the dawn breaks. Well, down at Tory party headquarters, Michael Portillo. The Defence Secretary has turned up, having lost his seat. William Hague, Welsh Secretary, one of the people who might well challenge for the leadership and who would have been a rival of Michael Portillo. And there's very prolonged applause to Mr. Portillo, who behaved very graciously at Enfield Southgate. Party workers who've been busy planning and plotting their campaign and have faced a defeat on a really quite dramatic scale tonight. We expect Mr. Major to speak to the party workers here before going back for the last time to number 10.
Politics is a rough old trade. Sometimes you win, sometimes you don't. But when you don't, you just step back, ask yourself why you didn't, and put yourself in a position to make sure that next time...
Yes.
Next time.
Tory telecom reforms.
That next time you get it right, and you do win. So, right, okay, we lost. So we...
Go on, John.
So go away for the weekend, relax, fire yourself up again, and then come back. Because when you come back, at the beginning of next week, we've got a job, and we better start doing it then. Thank you very much.
Good morning, and in case you missed it, Labour won. And during this historic day, we're going to be following the events as power is transferred from one party to another with great swiftness and a minimum of ceremony. We'll be out and about round London on this brilliant, sunny, early spring or mid-spring morning, May the 2nd, and there, shimmering in the light, the Thames and the Palace of Westminster and Big Ben, number 10 Downing Street. Crowd already assembled there, and John Major expected to leave from there, not for some time yet.
The process of preparing for Mr. Major's departure well underway. Let me show you, David, one graphic illustration of that. Behind us in Horse Guards Parade, there is a removal van.
He's going abroad, is he? He's leaving the country.
David. It says overseas. That is rather ominous. I'm told I'm not to read anything into that. Overseas in this case means Huntingdon for the time being.
Brian Mawhinney just arriving in number 10 Downing Street a moment ago, keeping a rather sickly grin on his face as he goes up. The man who was one of the key members of the campaign team. Richmond Crescent in Islington, Tony Blair's home, and flowers have been arriving there this morning. Flowers that now have to be meticulously searched, or maybe he just enjoys the smell of fresh flowers on a May morning. And they're carried down the street there. Robin Oakley joins us now, BBC's political editor.
Well, I understand that Mr. Blair has had his first conversation with President Clinton since his election success. Apparently President Clinton called him when he was in his car on the way from Stansted Airport to the celebrations at the Festival Hall last night and said that he'd been following the British general election with great interest and offered his congratulations and looked forward to seeing Mr. Blair soon.
Mr. Major is about to come out. As you can see, the Downing Street staff, all the windows open on the first and the second floor, And I think we'll see now the last appearance of Mr. Major as Prime Minister in Downing Street. Here he is.
When the curtain falls, it's time to get off the stage, and that is what I propose to do. I shall therefore advise my parliamentary colleagues that I believe that it would be appropriate for them to consider the selection of a new leader of the Conservative Party to lead the party through opposition during the years that lie immediately ahead. I propose to see Her Majesty in just a few moments. The second reason I'll say no more now is that after that I hope that Norma and I will be able, with the children, to get to the Oval in time for lunch and for some cricket this afternoon. Thank you all very much indeed. Thank you.
That must rank as one of the coolest last statements from a departing Prime Minister as he shakes hands with the police and he's going off this afternoon to watch the cricket, in tune with the way he's always publicly handled his politics. Very laid-back approach. And the Prime Minister shaking Brian Mawini's hand, the chairman of the Conservative Party, having made it clear that he's going to stand down. When the curtain falls, one gets off the stage. And that is the end of a remarkable political career of a man who came from Brixton and Rutledge Grammar School, which he hated, and who was turned down for work as a bus conductor on the London buses, and was then promoted through the ranks, went through local council to the House of Commons, became a whip, and then became leader of his party, and for 6 years Prime Minister. He seems to be coinciding with the changing of the guard, with the household cavalry coming down as well and being pushed to one side, and the prime ministerial car coming down towards Buckingham Palace. And a former chairman of the party, Kenneth Baker, is watching these scenes. What does this bring to your mind?
The last day of Margaret Thatcher, when she went out from number 10. It's a very moving moment.
But she shed a tear when she got into her car and left number 10. He seemed very cool and off to watch the cricket this afternoon.
Yes, I wouldn't expect John to shed a tear. Many of you maybe thought Margaret wasn't going to like to shed a tear. But Margaret had been there much longer, and the way she went also had an effect upon her attitude.
Prime Minister's car then turns in Buckingham Palace, and he goes in there for that brief meeting with the Queen, where there is no formality, though it's described as a formal ceremony. In fact, it's just a brief meeting at which he takes his farewell.
I believe he has fought an honourable and determined campaign, an almost lonely campaign. No one who has watched it can other but admire his determination and his personal courage. It has been a remarkable sight, and one which I think those who know Mr. Major will have felt for him as he had to go through. He is a decent and honourable man leading a terrible party.
Well, I'm joined here by the last Labour Prime Minister, Lord Callaghan. What were your feelings when you left the palace, having handed in your resignation? You, of course, knew, I mean, rather as he knew he was heading for victory, you knew you were heading for defeat, didn't you, in your election?
You see, when I became Prime Minister, they only gave me, there he is coming up, you see, with his wife, who's really done a good job, she really has. But you see, they only gave me a few months in office. The bookmakers started betting as soon as I got there that I'd be out by September. I beat them by 3 years.
And but what were your feelings when you left?
Well, if I must confess it, was because of the winter we'd had, it was one of relief.
The helicopter there over Islington, tracking Tony Blair's house, and his father, Leo, arrived a moment ago. His father, who wanted to be a Conservative MP and was a member of the Conservative Party in Durham, a lawyer, children looking out of the window at Tony Blair's house.
Good morning, Neil.
Hello, Jim.
You've been doing well on this programme too.
That's very nice.
I think you've all shown remarkable stamina. I'm quite astonished at you.
Well, victory has that effect, Jim, as you understand.
Well, this is like 1945, but in spades.
Yes.
And there are many young people today who will remember it as we remember that great day in 1945, just as excited, and it will colour the whole of the rest of their lives.
Tony Blair coming out with Cherie in Islington without his children on his way to the palace. Harold Wilson took his children to the palace. It seems Tony Blair is keeping them out of the limelight.
What I have is a feeling of great envy, because you see, as you say, he's the youngest Prime Minister, only 43. I, alas, was 64 when I became Prime Minister. So if that's any encouragement to John Major, then maybe he won't want to resign straight away. We'll get a hard fight.
Well, he's looking exuberant this morning. Last night, or very early this morning at dawn at the Festival Hall, he gave a political speech to his supporters, but now some of the sort of natural delight in the victory seems to be coming through. He's got out of the car at the end of the road and is greeting well-wishers who've come there to see him.
It's always a great moment.
Huge enthusiasm there. Jeremy Vine is down there watching these scenes. Jeremy?
Extraordinary. Thank you, David. As you can see at the end of his road, Mr. Blair's cars, his cavalcade began moving. A lot of family members here. They're going to a Downing Street lunch, by the way. But then the cars all stopped and the doors flew open and Mr. Blair jumped out. And one of the people who's protecting him there, incidentally, is Mr. Major's security man who's just been transferred. Another point is that Mr. Blair already has Mr. Major's car. It's come to him early.
We're following Tony Blair's car down through King's Cross, the area of London that he says, when he was talking about homelessness, it embarrassed him to take his children through sometimes. And he goes through King's Cross towards the Euston Road, quite a long journey from Islington. And he heads down there with the police escort again.
Mind you, if he was sensible, he wouldn't let Gordon Brown have number 11. He'd take it himself. That's the only piece of advice I'm going to offer him.
Coming down St. Martin's Lane and down towards Trafalgar Square. Tell me a story, Lord Callahan.
I remember, of course, this moment very well. But what always struck me, there was I desperately eager to get to the palace and to get on with it. And Martin Charters, who was the Queen's private secretary and a man of very great and wry humour, telephoned me when I was at home and said, the Queen would like to know when it will be convenient for you to come to the palace. And I was ready to grab a car straight away.
Because that's not how she treats everybody, because there was an occasion when, I think it was Ted Heath's election, wasn't it, when she was at Ascot. Do you remember?
Oh, yes.
And the Queen was not going to have Ascot interrupted for you wretched politicians.
Well, that is absolutely right. And that is why do you think the Garter service is fixed for when it is and all those other celebrations around that time?
Anyway, there he is, turning into the forecourt of Buckingham Palace. Well, this must be both a very nerve-wracking and very proud moment for Mr. and Mrs. Blair, after all the battles, to be coming here to be appointed Prime Minister. Hugh, who exactly has been allowed into Downing Street for this greeting of Tony Blair?
Well, they look like ordinary members of the public, David. Many of them, some of them are, but I can spot lots of Labour Party workers, some people there from the press and media office down in Millbank Tower, just along Millbank, not too long a walk from Downing Street itself. As you can see, they're hanging off the Treasury building, they're hanging off the Foreign Office building, they're looking down into Downing Street, and you're absolutely right, it's a very rare, it's a very enjoyable scene, simply because we don't see Downing Street crowded like this anymore.
John Burton is in Downing Street. The man we saw last night, Tony Blair's agent, and the man who got him the seat in Sedgefield in the first place, and he's with Hugh Edwards.
Your thoughts today, Mr. Burton?
Oh, it's wonderful. What an exciting day. Everybody's happy. There's been a change. I think the British public said, you know, enough's enough. We've had 17 years of this lot. Let's have a change. Let's have somebody new with some vision, a new Labour for the new millennium. And even the taxi driver was singing when we came down here, so it's wonderful.
And at that moment, Cherie Blair coming out of Buckingham Palace with the Prime Minister, now appointed, Lady-in-Waiting, Lady Susan Hussey on the left there, saying goodbye, as having escorted them down the stairs. Lady Susan Hussey, wife of former chairman of the BBC. And the Prime Ministerial car now drives off, and so begins, from this moment, a new premiership under Tony Blair. He gets out of his car at the entrance to Downing Street. And a big crowd surging across Whitehall to his car, with the police trying to hold them back. Well, up till now, he's greeted crowds throughout the country during the campaign, but never can he have had scenes quite as enthusiastic as this, even if they're from, many of them, Labour Party supporters. The huge feeling of relief at the success of the party in scoring this landslide victory, really quite overwhelming. A great wave of enthusiasm. Watch him pushing those hands away as he shakes them. You feel that both of them are going to be pulled into the crowd at any moment and passed over the crowd's heads. Children shouting away and very excited too, and there's Cherie right in the middle of them.
And this new Labour government will govern in the interests of all our people, the whole of this nation. That I can promise you. Today, enough of talking. It is time now to do. Thank you.
Enough of talking, high time to do. And before he does, he's joined by his children. Ewan, the boy in the blue shirt there, and Nicholas, and in the white cap, Catherine, his daughter. They were about to, and they thought better of the full thing. So they go inside number 10 for the first time to be greeted by the staff. And as Lord Callaghan was describing, all lined up, the staff applauding. You can see them applauding there as he comes in. The new Prime Minister goes into number 10, and for many millions of people, the first time they won't have lived under a Conservative government.